Welcome back, YouTube. Let's jump right in. Listen, I'm making some fresh breadcrumbs because I have sourdough at my house, but you don't have to. You can just get regular breadcrumbs from the grocery store. There's nothing wrong with them. But I like the grinding my own because I have control over the consistency. But not to get too fancy, let's jump right into this. So basically, listen, I love a 2.5 inch pork chop that's cooked medium, or rosé is what I like to say. I don't like to give it a steak term, but nice and pink, rosé, whatever. But guess what? My family doesn't at all, especially my wife. She likes her pork well done. And you know, this is the thing, being a chef, you're not just cooking for yourself all the time. So I wanted to make this and I wanted to share with you because, you know, it's a family favorite, and I also equally love this just as much. So basically what I did is I bought some 6-ounce pork chops. I left mine with the bone in, but I cut off the bone for the kids. Now, what I'm doing is I'm pounding it thin, okay? And listen, with the bone in, for me, I like to leave it a little bit thicker, but for my kids and my wife, I pounded it a little bit thinner. But you know, that's very subjective. It's really what you like. For me, I kind of like it almost like I would say a 1/4 or 1/2 inch thick. Now, getting into the breading part, it's very important to season every single thing that you are going to use, right? So I season the breadcrumbs, I season the eggs, I season the flour, and all of these are different, but they're the same. So the flour being, and I'll leave the measurements in the description down below, but I think it's just very important to make sure you season every step of the way, including the pork chop, and lightly season. You want to season in layers. Let me tell you, it makes a difference. Now I'm using ghee to sear this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to ever so gently cook it. Make sure you monitor the heat. I'm using cast iron because it's most even for cooking, and I just think it yields a better product, but you can use stainless steel, whatever you want, to be honest. Now, this actual piece is for my kids, so I'm going to cook it well done, but for my piece, I like to leave it a little bit on the medium side as best as possible, but obviously still having a crispy crust. Now here we go. I think this is really important. So as you can see, there are some white spots on the pork. That means that this didn't have correct contact with the oil, and I think this is really important for the beginner cook. You see what I'm doing here? I'm actually tipping the pan and I'm using my spoon to get that fat onto those uncooked parts. Now this happens naturally, so don't worry, it's not anything you did, but what happens with the protein is when it hits the hot oil, some parts will bow, especially if there is sinew left in the pork chop. And for me, I left all the good stuff on there. So as you can see, I think it's really important, especially if you leave the bone in, to, you know, do exactly what I'm doing here. Tip the pan and then cook the spots that you see are kind of just a little bit pale. But other than that, we're almost ready to plate, so let's go. Back in it, listen, keep your cast iron tight, okay? It's very important. As soon as you use it, I notice for me, as soon as I use it, while it's still hot, I pour out the oil, and then I just get a little damp towel and I actually clean it out right in the moment, wipe my station down, and make sure the pan is dry. Do not put it away wet, or else you will get rust. So look at this, it's beautiful. It's honestly very delicious, just as good, if not better, than a 2-inch pork chop. But watch me just cut it up here. I'm cutting it for my kids, but I thought I'd give a nice demo on how I'd like, you know, I usually do this. And, you know, honestly, you don't have to do this, but it's just, you know, my kids are small, so they need help. Now, let me tell you, don't sleep on this sugar-free Baby Ray's. I know you're not supposed to eat things with fake sugar in it, but guess what? I love this stuff, and, you know, it's really good, and trust me, it won't kill you. Hope you enjoyed the video. I really enjoy doing this. I really enjoy making these videos. Make sure you subscribe, hit the post notifications.